Yours a stream now?
Yeah.
Mine is not. I've got to do... People are asking what they think my fursona would be.
Your what?
My fursona, if I was a furry. What animal it would be based on.
Is that what it's called, really, a fursona?
Mm-hmm.
I can't keep up anymore, Jimmy. I really can't.
All right,
all
now
these terms, I can't do it.
Yeah.
What would your fursona be?
I hope it would be a lion based on my hair. I think it'd be a lion.
Fortunately for me, Shannon's already told me what mine would be.
What did she think it would be?
A garbage ferret.
A garbage ferret?
Yes.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, she literally called me a garbage ferret on a stream one time, and I didn't know how to react to that. Like, normally, you know, I'm pretty good at quipping back, but that just left me stunned. Garbage ferret.
So what we should do in future weeks is just send me all of your... Do you keep all of your thumbnails separated by, like, when you use them at all?
Yes.
I do too. I have basically each week has its own folder. If you want to just before we go live on Sundays, send me your week of thumbnails. We can still do the same slideshow thing, and then I'll see if Enfo wants to make a song for the two of us, or we'll figure out something else.
You could just put like the canceled bars in for mine and just shuffle them through.
And then we play the song, "It's all over, but the crying."
I love this following and self-pity.
Welcome everybody to a new episode of, what's this show called again, Kyle?
This show is called Independence Gay Reloaded.
That's true. We missed it this week. And to tell you the truth, I was a little bit sad. It is my fault because I didn't message you until like 2 or 3 hours to when we would have gone live. But I thought Independence Gay 2 was happening for sure. And then it didn't. And I was a little sad.
It's happening, just not on Independence Day. It can still be like, we're still independent. We're still gay. Well, some of us like pans too.
Oh my God! I need to just always wear my "It's Not About Cookware" shirts when I'm on with you.
You know, my short-term memory. I forget.
You won't remember unless you see it graphically represented on my shirt.
The kitchen thing's obvious. Like, I think I went a creative, like, step and beyond when I went with, like, you have an unhealthy obsession with Peter Pan.
Right.
Like, that to me that's my thing. Like, you love people in green tights and Tinkerbells.
Well, I mean, I definitely growing up had some crushes on some Tinkerbells. So that's...
See?
Yeah, that's true. I even dated a Tinkerbell cosplayer a few years back now. So I guess, I mean, there's something there, but it's still a different... I'm more of a Tinkerbell sexual than a Peter Pan sexual.
Can I hear it? I'm not wrong?
No, you are definitely wrong about what pansexual means. That's for sure.
Whatever.
That's just completely, because nobody makes do they? Does anyone make that joke about pantheists that are like, oh, so you worship cookware? Probably somebody has. That sounds.
It's got to be. If not, that needs to be a thing, because that's hilarious. Like,
yeah.
I mean, you know, as a former chef, I could have considered myself a pantheist, or a pot theist, or a stove theist, or a knife theist.
A former chef, by the way, who denied the divinity of air frying.
Okay,
story
Jimmy
time.
and I were talking before the show. He mentioned an air fryer. My mother and I today had a really big argument about air fryers. Now, I was watching. On Sundays, I usually go up to my grandmother's house, and we have lunch, and then, you know, we're just sitting around watching TV, and I'm watching CNN, and this commercial comes on for the ASPCA, which got the dogs that shake or whatever, and so I can't do that, and I dive for the remote and just hit the channel up button, and it falls on this QVC channel where they're pushing this smokeless grill. Now, one thing about this too, is it really necessary to have two people on there? Because watching this, it's so cheesy, and there's always some person that's just going, "Oh, yeah, oh."
You just described our show.
What are you putting there? Well,
and we need two people.
I didn't want to disparage you like that, but
let me get back to the character though too. Oh.
but anyway, so they're talking about this thing or whatever, and they then cut to the like what you get. They're like, oh well, it's not $300, it's not $200, it's only 4 easy payments of $39.99, and on top of that you get a cookbook, and on top of that you get a lid that goes on top of this, and if you call within the next 15 minutes, they're going to throw in an air fryer. So you get the air fryer for free. Now, my mom goes, oh, that's a really good deal. And I said, no, that's not a really good deal. Because the air fryers were invented by people who sat around in a boardroom and went, you know what? We literally can sell anything to these people because they'll buy it. And what happened is they got stuck on a lot of orders. And so now they've realized that people are on to them, that the air fryers suck, and they're having to give it away with a smokeless grill, which is, just some sort of big, like skillet. Because otherwise, why would you need to throw in the air fryer for free?
I'm gonna center myself. Well,
if the air fryer
all this
did
poison.
What it said, if the air fryer did what it says it does on the TV, why would they go, oh, you want this grill? Here, have this air fryer.
Yeah. Listen, I think that air fryer was probably a bad air fryer, but I will defend air fryers to the death. And I will specifically defend. I should have had an affiliate link in here because I don't. I don't have an affiliate link for the Ninja Foodie. But what I have is actually something called it's called the Ninja Foodie, and you first pressure cook. So it's amazing with chicken. You pressure cook chicken, which makes it really really moist on the outside. But as anybody who's ever pressure cooked chicken and not then seared it afterwards or fried it on a pan, it's too wet, it's too chewy. And this machine, the only thing I have to do is change the lid, and if there is water left over, you drain the water though if you use the right amount. You don't have to worry about that. So you pressure cook it, you get this moist thing, you change the lid, you turn the air fryer on, and now you have delicious and crispy on the outside and moist as all fucking hell on the inside chicken. And I love air fryers. Okay. They are amazing.
Here's the deal, though. I hate doing this, but when I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I went on the internet because I told my mother, I said, I'm going to show you. I'm going to go online and I'm going to see the reviews and I'm going to show you that people are onto this. Now, the reviews online are very positive for these air fryers. However, they need to change the fucking name. Stop
mini
calling
convection
it an air
oven?
fryer because you cannot fry with air. That's a stupid name.
So the reason why they call it is with a lot of stuff, you will actually coat it in just a little bit of oil. You're not deep frying it in oil, but you'll coat a little bit of oil. And then the air fryer because it's convection, it's attacking from the outside first. And that makes like a crispy outer layer. So the whole reason it's called an air fryer is if I made you chicken tenders in it, the closest thing to something you had experienced before would be fried chicken tenders. And with some stuff, like with breaded chicken and things that, as far as reheating, also, like say you have French fries that you put in the fridge because you took it as a to-go box, reheating things that were fried in the first place, also amazing. But in other words, they call it that based on its most similar experience. Also, it has a basket like a fryer does that you put down in it. And yeah, man, it is.
I can fix this problem. Instead of calling it, because it's not a deep fat fryer, call it a lightly oiled fryer. That is accurate. It says exactly what the thing, the steps that are involved, and I have no confusion. Like, I don't think that they're trying to hawk a machine that fries things with air because it's physically impossible to fry things with air. It's a stupid name. Get rid of it.
You know how a convection oven works, right?
Yes, but that's not frying.
So it is using air, though. It is pushing air, and that's why it also is so fast, is because it's going to give you 500 degrees of air blown down on it like a fucking superheated leaf blower, and that sounds not appealing. But
That's
really,
even more accurate. Call it a superheated leaf blower. Like all your chicken tenders will never be more juicy when you try this superheated leaf blower. I could get into that because it put in my mind what's going on. Listen, companies that make these, change the name. You will sell a lot more, and you won't have to give them away with a stupid smokeless skillet. Literally, this skillet has a vacuum in it that sucks in the smoke.
It's just a reverse.
So that you can grill indoors.
It's a reverse fryer, is what it is.
No one wants to grill indoors. That's the entire time I'm watching this. I'm like, the point of grilling is you're outside and it's an experience. No one wants to do that inside. This is stupid.
Fuzzy Bear Gville is suggesting, would you like it if it was called a convection fryer? Would that work better for you? Is it the fryer thing that you're stuck on?
Yeah, it's the fryer thing. Like I could get more behind that. I think that's I could get more behind that. I just don't like the term air fryer. I think it's insulting to consumers. I think
I think you just have to try it. First of all, you used to be a chef, so try cooking with it, and then actually try the food. And I think you will realize the whole thing is, not only is it that the food is like fried food, that's what it's the most like and will most resemble. It's meant to be like, hey, Jimmy Snow, you know how you're eating deep fried food way too much? Well, what if we gave you an alternative? And it's extremely, it's really good. In fact, in talking now, I've decided I'm going to make hot wings in my air fryer pressure cooker tonight.
I've got to tell you though, chefs, we're very, very skeptical for the most part of using these sort of products, these sort of like gimmicky, like new age, you remember that spit roaster thing that used to, like, the guy would be on TV every Sunday morning and shoving these big steel things into these turkeys, and it would rotate on the back, and it used you know what I mean? Like, there's just something about that. It feels like it's cheating to me. You know what I mean? Like, if I'm going to eat something, if I want wings, I'm going to commit. You know what I mean?
Right.
Throw them sons of bitches in gallons of oil that has not been changed in a week, that has fried everything else. Just commit.
You and I have clearly very different metabolisms.
I didn't used to.
Before we, that's right. You've shown me pictures even. Before we jump into today's topic, because as anyone who's figured out, with anytime Kyle and I are on air, we will get around to the topic.
Maybe.
Usually. Most of the time. I want to pitch what today's Twitter poll is and suggest as many people as possible. It'll be running for another, I think it's got almost another 24 hours left, 23 and a half hours left on it. Over on Twitter, if you're not already following me on Twitter, it's at Dear Mr. Atheist. This is something I genuinely want to know. And let's actually start off with, I want to give people, I want to see if the live chat so if you've already seen it, don't guess. And don't say. I want to give you the question without the subject and the answers, and I want to see how many people can successfully guess what the question is about. So here's the question with the subject removed. How many blank have you had in your life? The options are none/see results, less than 100, 101 to 5,000, or more than 5,000. And that question is a food item. We're talking about something that most people have had lots of.
Damn it. I was going to say, what would your answer be, Jimmy, if you had to answer this poll question without saying what it is?
What would I have guessed?
No. How would you answer? Like, what number would you say? Like in those options?
For me, I am 5,000 plus. I have had more than 5,000 of this item.
Before you said food item, I was going to say penis, and then that would totally make sense for.
It is penis because it is a food item. Num 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 num. No, it's not penis.
I'm so sorry, everyone. I'm so sorry that just happened. Please, get that out of your mind. That didn't happen. We're moving on.
Num, 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 num. Yeah, we're talking, and I'm looking at my live chat, and no one is guessing correctly. You all think?
To be fair though, I guessed like 9 things incorrectly before I ever got it.
So, Kyle, don't tell them what it is, but which answer was it for you?
Mine was the less than 100.
So, opposites. And if you look at our body types, I'll give you this hint. Obviously, Kyle and I have had a significantly different number of carbs.
But while people are still guessing, I want to bitch about another thing, because like you gave me the hint. Maybe you can give your live chat this hint. It's something that's near and dear to a lot of children, right? That's where this sort of springs to. And you know what that?
But it's near and dear to me too.
You know what that instantly reminded me of? That pissed me off when I was growing up. When they came out with colored ketchup. Do you remember this? When they had the purple ketchup and the green ketchup.
And the green ketchup, yeah.
That was abhorrent. That's worse than the air fryer. That's
a couple of people have guessed correctly so far, so I'm giving it a little more time. Yes, I remember a green and purple ketchup. However, I will tell you that growing up with so many siblings, I'm up to 12 siblings now. Growing up Mormon, only having a father who worked and my mother was a stay-at-home mother meant we were always on an incredible budget, though found out when we were older that it was mostly the kids that held to that budget more. But anyway, we were always on an incredibly frugal budget. And so we never got to experience those things because we had mostly the generic ketchup or did you have a packet drawer growing up? Or like a place in the fridge where you put like extra ketchup packets you got from places and stuff? Yeah, absolutely. Big time. Hot sauces and stuff. All right, so it looks like finally the live chat is catching on. Yes, it is peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. To whoever wrote s'mores, clearly you've watched everything I do and you know that I specifically love s'mores. However, I doubt I'm above 5,000. I'm probably more in the like, if I ate s'mores that often, it would take my love out of s'mores. You know what I mean?
I love s'mores. But
I can have a peanut butter and jelly sandwich every day. I did for years.
I have something that I would like to read to you, if I could.
Sure. Yeah, go ahead.
I want to see if you maybe you heard about this story, which I think is absolutely incredible. All right, so here's the headline. Are you ready?
Yeah.
Man sues brewery after pink beer promotion made him feel forced to identify as a female. Now, let me explain what happened, because this is a story that is that like both sides get each other. Okay, so basically what you have a brewery that is sort of trolling other beer companies, and they come out with this pink beer that they're saying is for like women, right? And they're pushing this because beer. They're saying that, oh well, like other products, beer companies aren't marketing essentially to women, right? So they're going to be the beer that's doing this, but they're trolling. They're not serious behind this.
And so it wasn't even a breast cancer awareness month thing. No. It was literally just to say, this is girly beer. Sure.
Right. So they run a promotion for a period of time where the beer is $5.50 usually. If you're a woman though, you can come up and you can get the beer for $4.50. You can get $1 off the beer. So this doctor, okay, he is a doctor. He arrives at this brewery and he says, I'd like the $4.50 beer. I saw that you're advertising that. I'd like that beer. Well, the bartender and the owner tell him he can't have that because he's not a woman. And they argue back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. And the doctor said, well, you know what? At this moment, I identify as a female. And he forced their hand in giving them the beer because they didn't want to walk away being like, oh, well, you know, they didn't want that sort of, you know.
Right. It's a troll trolling a troll, but it's also still on the back of like the people who like to make the claims about like that gender change is something you totally arbitrarily come up. Everything about this story is so stupid.
Yes. It's unbelievably stupid. It's almost as stupid as the Alabama squirrel that was in the news last week. Did you see this?
What happened with the squirrel?
There was a man that dealt drugs, and the police were tipped off that he kept an attack squirrel, and the guy was feeding the squirrel meth for weeks, and this squirrel was like tweaked out when they went into a on a warrant. And you should see the video. It's awful. But eventually they got the squirrel into rehab, I guess, and got him where he doesn't, you know. I just wonder if the squirrel's out there like on a street corner going, "Hey man, you know where I can I need some meth, you know where I can get some of that?" You know, all the other squirrels are going around looking for nuts.
You want me to hide you? Give me some meth and I'll hide your nuts.
He's looking for ice.
I can only imagine the scene from Monty Python and the Holy Grail with the rabbit that like keeps killing the knights. You know what I'm talking about?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm imagining right now. Holy shit. It's so incredible. It's amazing to me it didn't happen in Florida.
You know what though? Alabama, I am firm in this. Alabama is the new Florida. Alabama is taking over with like all the shit with the abortion shit, with them taking off Arthur for having a gay episode, with them having a child predator who is banned from the fucking mall, narrowly beating his opponent, and then having the gall to say, "I'm running again." The guy is banned from a fucking mall, and he's running for
being creepy.
What? Alabama.
What do you? Alabama is the Florida of Florida.
Yeah, Florida's over there going,
"Oh
shit, that's fucked up." You know what I mean? Like,
craziest nation, or what? Craziest state in the nation. Hold my Pabst Blue Ribbon. That's what I hold my PBR.
I opened off Pabst PBR in college.
Beer's gross. There were some I liked when I could drink, but beer in general is gross. I was more of a whiskey guy on the rocks. Yeah.
I like
a little bit of honey.
Bell's Too Hard. I like Bell's Too Hard, but that's about the only beer that I like.
I mean, if I had to drink a beer, like that was the situation, because sometimes you show up to a barbecue and that's everything they have. Usually they'd have most barbecues end up having Bud Light with lime, or I didn't mind a Berry Weiss by Line and Kugel, because that just tastes like not Fruit Loops. Yeah, Fruit Loops. Or Fruity Pebbles. And I also didn't mind putting a little bit of orange juice in a, what's that one that's like really wheaty, really hoppy? Blue Moon. I didn't mind a little orange juice in Blue Moon.
That's funny, because you strike me as sort of a Zima guy.
I never was a fan of Zima. I was a fan of Seagram Sevens. Makes a honey whiskey that's way better than the Jack Daniel's honey whiskey. Really loved that. And but if you're just talking about like liking girly drinks, or what people call girly drinks, I loved me some Mike's Hard. But Mike's Hard was almost more like a beverage. Like, I'm thirsty, not I'm trying to get drunk.
I liked Woodchuck.
Okay. All right.
While we're talking, just really quick, I wrote this down because it's coming up in something that I'm going to do, but I'm going to run through some, just like 5 of these, just so that you hear these. These are still laws that are active in states.
All right. And then we will hit the topic. We promise. Yes, we're going to start talking cringy stuff we said.
These are just too good not to say. Okay. In Arizona, spitting on a sidewalk is illegal. Colorado, in where you are, placing furniture outside of your home is illegal.
Oh my God, there are people on my street who need to hear that shit.
Indiana, sniffing glue for excitement. Tennessee, sharing your Netflix password. That's a new law. It went into effect in 2011. You can be charged for that. Now, here is the pinnacle of where Florida is going to say, "Oh, wait a minute, Alabama, you cannot take my place. Allow me to show you why we're the craziest state in the union." Okay, now follow this with me. In 1989, it was unanimously passed that, and these are the words that are used in the law, so this is not politically correct now, but dwarf throwing is banned and was banned in 1989. If you are caught throwing dwarfs, you will be charged $1,000. And interestingly enough, as crazy as that is, it gets crazier. In 2011, an attempt to reverse the law was made by a state senator because he said the government shouldn't decide how people make a living.
But prostitution's still illegal there. Okay, here's the thing. It's not that we're saying, Kyle and I are not saying that that law shouldn't have gone into effect. We're not saying we don't support that law. I think what we're pointing out is the absurdity that it was necessary.
Correct.
There was such a problem.
Yes, that's exactly it. It was such an issue that they had to, that grown men and women had to convene in a state capitol and go, we have had enough throwing dwarfs. Right. We cannot have this anymore. Like, what in the hell are you doing, Florida? Like, what? And then a guy said, you know what? I have an idea. We need to reverse this. The government should not tell people that they can't throw, quote unquote, dwarfs.
In Salt Lake City, Utah, it's illegal to carry, this is what someone is saying, so I haven't verified this. It is illegal to carry around an unwrapped ukulele, which to me means something super racist happened. Because what a lot of people don't know about Salt Lake City and Provo is they have a high Hawaiian and Polynesian audience or citizenship there, because the Mormon church has gone there and converted lots of people, and they end up bringing them there for school, and there's a higher population than a lot of places of Hawaiian and Polynesian people, both being people who use ukuleles. And I feel like that means that we're trying to basically ban Hawaiian culture in Utah, which wouldn't surprise me at all, because anything that's not if it's Utah, if it's not white, it's not all right. That's how Utah is. Yeah.
Hello, Mitt Romney.
Yeah. Yeah. He is, despite not being from round there, he is now the senator from Utah.
The man has good hair, though, I have to say. Stellar hair.
So in starting off this conversation about cringy things, and people feel free, yes, this is kind of marketing. If you have good examples that you want to throw in the super chats, we'll read them out, obviously. Basically, this is reminding you we'll read all the super chats at the end of the show. But in starting this conversation about cringy things, the number one thing that I'm drawn to, not as a specific example, but growing up as a Mormon, was the bear your testimony culture, which is essentially like, look for any opportunity you can to tell people using I know language that the church is true. So you would be in situations where what it turned into, like one of the cringier times I can remember this happening, what it turned into was being in a hotel room at 15 years old in Las Vegas on a trip for choir with 3 other individuals, 2 of which were Mormon, 2 of which, myself and one other was Mormon, and then 2 of which weren't. And one of them had all of these good reasons why the church isn't true, or the Mormon church isn't. And basically, I got to the point where it was like, listen, I hear all of your reasons. I don't have answers ready for you right now, but I do know that I can feel God in this room right now telling me not to worry about it. And then I went right into because I know the church is true. I know that Joseph Smith was a prophet. I know, which the funny thing is this conversation all started up around the episode of South Park. He wanted to know, he was like, hey, by the way, turns out these things were real. And I just sat there being like, no. They're like, haha, South Park, that's really, really funny, but not true. That whole thing about the rocks in the hat and him shoving his face in the hat, that's not true. Come to find out years later that it was, and I was going around fighting against, as many Mormons were at that time, going around fighting against this whole story of the rock, not the rock, but a rock in a hat that Joseph was putting his face into, and that was lighting up the words that needed to be written into the Book of Mormon. We were going around fighting that all over the place. I mean, no, that's not what happened. He used the Urim and Thummim, which are magic other things from the Bible, and he, with the power of God, translated the plates, and he was looking at the plates, and next to the words would show the correct words. all of those kinds of things were we were out there defending. Come to find out years later, after all of this, I know the church is true. I know Joseph Smith is a prophet. I know that's not correct. I know that these are anti-Mormon lies. And then the church finally admits to it, or at least publicizes that it is true, that is how Joseph Smith translated the Book of Mormon. And that's probably what makes me cringe the most, is how much I defended things even the church admitted to being wrong.
I come to this like, I cringe for you. Like, I think you in this situation, like, totally win the cringe factor, because as bullshit as the Baptists were in their faith, like, we knew that the Mormons were absolutely, like, off their rockers. Like just I remember, I distinctly remember my Sunday school teacher. Someone brought it was in like middle school or something, but one of the people brought in a friend, and the friend was a Mormon. And so the little friend, bless his heart, had a like he was going to stand his ground and say that, he was going to give us the Mormon spiel, like, everything that we were talking about was wrong or whatever. And so it sparked this whole thing. And I remember the kid going, yes, Jesus came back and not many years ago. Those are the distinct words he used, not many years ago. And that's what I held on to. And he talked about the golden tablets and meeting Jesus out in the field. And I just remember sitting there going, this kid's fucking insane. Like, this is absolutely bonkers. Like, and I'm sure looking back, you get that. I started out as an independent Baptist, like, which is, you take Southern Baptist, if they're not conservative enough for you, you want to go more to the right, independent Baptist. You couldn't dance. Like, you thought
Southern Baptists were going to hell.
Yes. And that's the thing. Like we had so many sermons that talked about, like, Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, Catholics. Right. None of these people were Christian. None of them. Right. There was a debate, a big heated debate between people in the church on whether or not Episcopalians and Presbyterians would line up with that, because the whole Baptist thing is that you have to be dunked into the symbolic water and brought back up, and anybody that's sprinkled or christened or anything like that was not following or obeying God's command. And oddly enough, I was baptized not once but twice. The first time I was baptized, now this is going to show you how deep into this, I was 9 years old, and I was taken out to a swimming pool. The pastor had a swimming pool, literally an in-ground swimming pool. And 6 of us were baptized in a swimming pool. And then when I turned 15 and I started, like, getting more into where I was, like, being a part of, like, I was teaching the youth group sometimes, I said, you know what? I'm not going to get into heaven because I was baptized in a swimming pool. Like, I was then part of a church that had, like, the baptismal in the sanctuary or whatever. Yeah. And I had to have that because, like, there was no way God was going to let me in with my chlorine stained heathen self. So I was actually baptized. It's so stupid when you look
heaven's just like the gyms that want you to shower after you go into the pool also. Well,
it's sort of like the knockoff. You have the people who were baptized in the holy the baptismal thing that's in the sanctuary, where you have the robe and the whole thing, and I'm in the middle of nowhere, North Carolina, in a in-ground swimming pool, literally with pool noodles around me, and supposed to be having this holy, experience. And looking back on that, I was like, I have to rectify this. And I remember sitting with the pastor going, look, can you be baptized twice? And he was like, why do you think you need to be baptized twice? Once, if your commitment has remained with the Lord, then you're. And I said, no, like, this was in a pool. And he was like, well, it's a symbolic thing, it's not like the water has to. And I was like, no, you have to baptize me. Like, I forced it on him. He was trying to tell me that you're going to be okay. Like, just stop freaking out. And I was like, I have to go to a holy pool.
So in regards to being a Baptist and thinking, but everybody else. So my approach to that is, first of all, Mormons are more of a cult. than most religions are, but there's nothing individually about them that are that is actually more bonkers, except for the fact that so much of the stuff they believe in happened recently. And it's like in the modern era of written word. Like we have the records of Joseph Smith being convicted of being a charlatan for stone seeing, basically pretending that these same stones, yeah, that happened too, but these same stones that, keep in mind, Mormons love that though. They see him as a martyr. They literally, in their song, call him, in one of their songs, call him a martyr.
But Jimmy, if Jesus is going to come down to the poor fella and give him like these gold tablets, why is he going to leave him to get shot in a saloon somewhere by an angry mob? God's just like, well, he spread the message.
Oh, it wasn't a saloon. It was a jail. It was a jail.
Well,
and
even better.
And the final thing he does is basically make this is something that is part of the story, so we can't know for sure happened, but it seems likely the final thing he does is yell a Masonic phrase in the hopes that part of the mob who are there to kill him, the ones that are bound by Masonic duty, will turn around and defend him. But yeah, it didn't work out for him so well. But yeah, no, the whole thing, and these were the things I was defending against too. And the number of times I think back and I'm just like, holy shit, remember when I was just standing in front of this guy and was authoritatively saying, no, Joseph Smith was a good man and a prophet and a martyr, and he was murdered in cold blood, even though we hadn't been told in the church about the people that he tried to have murdered, the people he likely successfully had murdered, the fact that he was trying to install a theocratic state, like he was trying to, Mormons will now say that they think the Constitution was a God-inspired document, that it was written basically by the hand of God, and that you should take it to be like any other holy book as well. Meanwhile, Joseph's vision was to overthrow the American government, and he wanted to become the president. He literally ran for president of the United States in an attempt to overthrow and install a Mormon theocracy. And these are the things that I believed in and defended against and told people they were wrong about when they were literally just telling me the facts of history, like the history as it actually occurred. And I'm sitting there going, well, if that was true, that would rattle my faith. So it must not be true, because I was taught everything that could be a faith rattler would be called anti-Mormon, which is something I've been labeled now too, which Mormons, as soon as you hear the label anti-Mormon, you immediately know just to dismiss everything. But I will tell you, I met a lot of Baptists in the South growing up, and they were always the ones who would tell me that I was going to hell and use those kinds of fear tactics. So where Mormonism has a secondary level of being obviously untrue, because this isn't philosophy that the entire world has been fighting over for 2,000 years with events that can be called into question. These are things that happened like last week that we know were fabrications. We know the Book of Mormon isn't true because it makes a ton of claims that anthropologists would have found easily by now. We know that Mormonism is false, as much as you can know anything, because it's been demonstrated to be false. And so in that way, it is, you used the word, I think you said that you guys knew it was crazy. In that regard, like, yes, it is certainly more bananas than other religions. However, the audacity of people in certain other religions was more shocking to me growing up. Mormons are plenty audacious. They're literally going around, they're sending 18-year-olds door to door to tell people that they know the secrets of the universe, and they have the audacity and the arrogance to call those 18-year-olds elder.
And if you're an independent Baptist, if you're outside of that, like Methodists are probably our closest allies. Other than that, everybody else in the religious world is going to hell. Like, it doesn't matter. If you're not like white, old, and you know how to make potato salad on Sundays, you're going to hell in some fashion. It's funny because when I moved because eventually when I was like 15, I moved from the Independent Baptist to the Southern Baptist because I had a friend that went to a more contemporary church, and they had a youth group that went places like Camp Caswell, and would do like fundraisers where you go door to door and you sell like donuts. And I remember that it was the worst. It was the worst thing, going door to door and having to knock and be like, we're selling these donuts, but then we had a witness thing that we had to do. So it's like you can't even get annoyed to buy the donuts without going through a spiel.
Yeah. I love that we both went for the same word.
But let me tell you the scariest moment of my life. I was me and my friend who were going to this Southern Baptist church. We had a third friend, and they were having some sort of I think they were in a play. They had like a starring role in a play. It's all like so traumatic that it kind of blurs together. But anyway, he went to a Pentecostal church. Now, if you had to like take Baptists and put them on one end of the spectrum and look to the completely opposite end, that's where the Pentecostals are. Baptists are terrified of Pentecostals. Terrified. Because they're everything that Baptists aren't, like everything. So I had very, 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 like, I was weary of going, like, and my friend was like, it's important, blah, blah, blah. So I agreed to go. Now the play thing went off. The preacher said some words, and I'm like, okay, you know what? This isn't so bad. Like, there's not, it's not like what I heard that it was. And Baptists have this thing called the altar call. I don't know if you have it in Mormon churches, but at the end of a sermon, they open up the altar. So if you are burdened by anything, if you want to get saved, you make your way down to the altar and you kneel and you either pray or there's always these guys that come, and they're always so sweaty too, but they come and they wrap their arm around you and they're like, are you ready to give your life to the Lord, sort of thing. So the preacher at this Pentecostal church says, okay, we're going to have an altar call. And I'm like, okay, it's over. Now, Baptist altar calls last probably about 15 to 20 minutes. It's at the end. This altar call lasted an hour and a half. And I kid you not, as soon as he said altar call, there were people that were running up and down the aisles. A lady brought out a tambourine and was banging it in the aisle, and then people started speaking in tongues. Now, I had never heard anyone speak in tongues before, ever. And so you have all of these people act like it's like they're having a I don't know how to describe it. Like, they're making these noises that I've never heard before. And so I look at my friend, who is also another Baptist, and he's just as freaked out as I am. We're on the second row of this church. Now, the first row has already stood up, and the pastor's coming along down the aisle, and he's going up to each person, and he's putting his hands on their head, asking them like what they need to give up to the Lord. And as soon as they say what they need to give up to the Lord, down they go. There's a guy back behind them to catch them, and down they go. They lay out in the middle of the aisle. Now, they're getting close to me, right? There are a couple of people down. This pastor is coming, and I can feel it. Like, I'm going to be put in a predicament where I'm either going to have to be the one person that is still standing when this pastor moves on, obviously, and then the rest of the congregation is going to hate me, or I'm going to have to act like I am filled with the Holy Spirit and fall over. Now, which one of these things do you think that I did?
Oh, I imagine that you. The thing that I wonder is whether or not you were truthful about what you needed to give up, and if when they said, "What do you need to give up to the Lord?" if you said, "Nummy dicks," but I don't think so. But I think you fell back.
I can't even remember what I said, but I did. I fell back, and it wasn't even the pathetic thing about it was it wasn't even a fallback. Like, once I got to where he was lowering me to the ground, I sort of just sat on my ass. So it was sort of like a half layout and sit down. So obviously people could still tell that this guy doesn't know what he's doing. I don't
Right.
And that's
He
the
didn't
last
play
time
that
I
part
ever
very well. Yeah.
I still to this day stay the hell away from Pentecostals.
So we didn't do altar calls. What we do is something called fast and testimony meeting, and it's pretty much the same thing. It's open mic day, and it's the first Sunday of every month. And instead of having the normal way it works, you don't have a designated pastor. You do have a bishop, but the bishop's the presiding authority, essentially. They don't actually like give a speech every week. Instead, you usually had 3, sometimes 4 if guests had come in or something, speakers that were actually members of the congregation. And until recently, it would specifically be like, first you would have a youth person, second you would have either a man or a woman in the second spot, and then there'd be a song, and the final speaker was always going to be a member of the Melchizedek priesthood. So it was either an elder or a high priest. Now my understanding is they recently opened that up to where now women also can be the final speaker, but for the longest time it had to end with a man. Otherwise,
isn't it odd how God progresses with society? Like his laws for so long are like, what the next thing to fall is going to be is, and it already has been, homosexuals. Like they have gay preachers, pastors that are in like Episcopalian, and it's just always funny to me how it's a law for so long because God said so, but as society goes, you know what? We probably should let women talk in church. This is probably not okay to tell them that they have to shut up.
Right.
God's like, you know what? Yeah, I'd get behind that.
I was actually just this week with my dad hypothesizing. I called him and was telling him, which he's very reluctant to believe this because he doesn't think it'll ever change. But I was telling him who I think of the apostles that are currently at the Mormon Church, who I think when they become in charge, when they're big prophet on campus, will reverse all of the anti-gay policies. And I said, I think it will begin with, it won't happen all at once, but it will happen rapidly. The phases will happen rapidly, but they'll try and get away at first with just saying, we accept gay families and gay families, but we accept gay marriage, but we won't perform them in the temples, but we will recognize you as married, and you can come and you can attend church, but they won't extend to them things. They'll literally do exactly what they did to black people before 1978. It'll be, you can be in the church, but you can't participate in the highest callings. You can't be extended the priesthood. There will still be a significant difference in our eyes to your gay family versus a straight family, because they're following the plan of salvation and you're not. And then because that'll be like, oh, they're making progress, and they'll get kudos for a minute. Then people will go, okay, they're making progress, but you're still way far off, and there will actually be even heightened pressure. And so a few years later, it might even take another change in prophet. They'll just go, yeah, God came to us, and it turns out we were, his plan, we weren't wrong in the past. It's just now time that he's saying that now it's okay.
You know what? Like going back to your brand of cringe, though.
Yeah.
You also believe that, Mormons also believe that we get our own planet.
Right. Well, okay. So consider the concept.
How far are you guys going to push the envelope?
They needed something that was more attractive than just heaven. Also, Mormons don't like ever saying that there is some answer missing or that they don't know or whatever else. Mormons generally want to give you some answer versus no answer. So whereas most people will say something like, well, where did God come from then? If everything has to have an origin, where did God come from? A lot of religions will say like, well, no, God exists outside the universe, so he doesn't have to have that. But Mormons came up with, actually, what we're doing now, God once did with his own God, and that God had his own God and his own God with his own God. Basically an infinite regression of gods that they said, and there's no beginning to that. That's just how everything has always been that way, and that cycle has never began. There's an infinite, because eternity goes both directions. Is how they'll put it.
Can I ask you a question about that? How would you answer the question if somebody came to you and said, what did people do before the 1900s that passed on, and like before he had those tablets, before he was able to piece together the Book of Mormon, what happened to all of the millions of people up to that point? What happened to their...
Yeah. This is what they think we're doing during the millennia. Basically, all of the people who, when you die, so imagine you hear a knock at the door, you open the door, and there are two Mormon missionaries. Well, that's pretty much what, if you didn't join the Mormon church, that's what happens to you after you die. You go to something called spirit prison, and you start taking the missionary lessons from other Mormons. And then at some point, somebody will be baptized via proxy for you. Now, we don't know the names of everyone who ever lived, so during the millennia, basically we'll get that list and they'll do proxy baptism. So right now, when a Mormon goes to the temple and they go and they get baptized on behalf of someone who has died, they believe, so after I die, because I won't be considered a member of the church anymore, especially since I'm planning to resign this year as part of a charity event. I'm still technically on the records, but when I die, I will go to spirit prison. Probably my grandpa is who my dad thinks it'll be. It would be that when I die, I'll go to spirit prison and my grandpa will come and tell me all the truth, and I'll learn all the truth of Mormonism, even though I already know the whole fucking religion back and forth. I'll learn all the truth, and then at some point, which it'll have to be after I've been dead for at least a year is the minimum, I think, somebody in my family will go get baptized and they will use my name instead of their own name when they're baptized. And so the person will say, I baptize you, James Alexander Snow, in the name of the Father and the Son and the Holy Ghost, but it won't be actually me. And at that time, I will be given the opportunity to leave spirit prison and become a ghost missionary myself.
Okay, so what keeps someone from baptizing evil people?
Nothing, because they do that. Hitler has been baptized in the Mormon church.
What?
Everybody, no matter what they, by proxy, I should mention, in case someone wants to clip that out.
Who did that?
In Mormonism, nobody is above redeemability. Everybody has the chance to at least go to the lowest form of heaven, and whether or not they can go to the highest form of heaven is unclear too, because they believe that you are held accountable to what you knew. So if basically within Mormonism, there is no reason that Hitler can't become a god and have the highest form of exaltation. Not only has Hitler been baptized by proxy he's been baptized by proxy for more than a dozen times. So has Anne Frank. So in other words, they'll do the whole spectrum.
Who did this? Like, who said who had the balls and gall to go, I'm going to baptize by proxy fucking Hitler?
You know what? It almost certainly happened in like a southern temple where there's a lot of racists and stuff, and so people with the saying like, well, it's not our right to judge. We just have to do the work that God told us to do. So we're going to do the baptism, and God will figure it out on the other side. I'm not here to question God. If God doesn't want him to leave spirit prison, I'm not breaking him out. Anyway, could you get back to calling me Adolf Hitler and giving me a bath?
I've got to take this opportunity for the second time in the same show to apologize to someone, and that is going to be to my former pastor, because I used to say that he did nothing but lie to me and other people. That is not true. When he said that Mormons were absolutely crazy and that we should not believe, he was telling the truth. This is, look, okay, you have to understand. You grew up in it, so you were immersed in it. It's what you knew. Right. Like, it's a different side. From the outside, anybody that says We haven't even gotten to the magic underwear yet. Okay, we haven't even gotten there.
Sure.
But we've tackled the rocks in the hat, the shooting at the jail, the golden tablets, the planet that you get, and now we are tackling baptizing Hitler, and we haven't even touched on the magic underwear or that Jesus and Satan are brothers.
Right. Okay, so first of all, like when we talk about looking from the outside, you do have to consider truly looking from the outside. There's certainly a lot about fundamentalist baptism that is also bananas. If anything, it's almost admirable that Mormons tried to fill in the gaps, because they're less likely to tell you to just not worry about it unless it's a situation of like, hey, here's a scientific fact that debunks Mormonism. Then they'll say, don't worry about that. That's for God to decide.
No,
if anything...
Incorrect. I have to push back on that. It is not better to attempt to fill in the gaps when you say we can baptize Hitler. He can go to heaven too.
Right. I get it. Which Mormons would, the way they would defend that is say, we just did the ordinance because we have to. But again, they did it it's something like 14 times. But we did the ordinance because we have to. That doesn't mean he actually got out of spirit prison. Like God will figure that side out. That's how they would defend it, even though it was almost certainly done with racist motivations and things of that nature. There's something I was going to, but to me, it just, as I think back on Mormonism, I realize, have you ever watched the show Lucifer?
No, but I know the concept.
I love the show. It's so good. I'm right now. I'm watching through the whole thing, and I'm on season 3. And that's what they do. Is actually like they come up with new injections of stories. Like at one point, you find out that his brother, and technically most Christian or a lot of Christians believe that Jesus and Satan are brothers. It's just a different way because they believe that both of them were amongst the first children of God. They just don't usually word it that way, like that these are brothers. Whereas in Lucifer, they're like all of the angels that are the first of God's children are like brothers with affection for each other, even though they might always be fighting and shit. And at one point you find out that Amenadiel, as a prank on Lucifer, at some point 1,000 years back, started the rumor about Lucifer being half of a goat. And that's all it is. It's just starting new rumors of like making up the story as you go along.
I'm gonna go back to Baptist Kyle, and I'm gonna argue this like I would like I would have back then. Okay, Satan and Jesus obviously cannot be brothers because Jesus didn't exist until the New Testament. Satan has existed since the fall.
So it depends on which version of Christianity you believe in. If you believe that God and Jesus are the right one, right? That the Mormons, if you believe God and Jesus are the same person, then you would believe that Jesus is his heavenly form is the father of Satan. If you believe that they are separate people, which Mormons do, Mormons believe you have God the Father, and then you have Jesus, Jesus his son, and the other part of the God. So first of all, Mormons are polytheists, but they don't admit it. They absolutely are polytheistic, but they claim to be a monotheistic because they only worship the one God the most. Meanwhile, you have polytheistic pagan religions who don't, certain ones that don't, they have multiple gods, none of which they actually worship, but are polytheistic for acknowledging the existence of multiple gods. Mormons don't understand what the phrase actually means. So Mormons not only are they polytheistic, they're actually polytheistic in worship also, not just in acknowledgement of multiple gods. Or rather, not quite acknowledgement so much as assertion. But yeah, so it depends on whether or not you think Jesus was an angel or God himself. Mormons believe he's the literal Son of God. They also believe God is a physical human man with a penis, like body, blood, bones, and a wiener. They think he's a sex. Yeah, he is a bio male. His sex is male, and that it has an actual body. Like it is all bananas. In fact, the whole thing with Satan's rebellion, what they believe happened is that God God wanted to do a plan of salvation for all of his children. And he went to his two first sons. And his first sons were Jesus and Satan, Lucifer, or Samael, or whatever name he would have gone by in heaven at the time. And basically was like, hey, who has a plan? And they were like, we have plans. And in the Jesus version, Jesus was going to save all of mankind, but give all of the glory for doing that to God. Where Satan was going to save mankind. By the way, the actual details of the plan, Satan's plan was better, but he was worse because he said, I want the glory. At the end of the day, I deserve the credit for it because I'm the one down there doing it. And that is why God decided Jesus. And so Satan got mad and rebelled, and there was a war in heaven, and 1/3 of the angels left with Satan, basically to hell.
Well, I'm going to give you, I'm going to now school you in how God has actually set up his kingdom, and not this, these three individuals bullshit.
Yeah.
Okay. Now follow me here. Okay. God is in the middle, right?
Right.
You have the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
Yeah.
The Father is not the Holy Spirit. The Son is not the Father. The Holy Spirit is not the Son.
Right.
The Father is God.
Yeah.
The Son is God. The
Right.
Holy Spirit is God. Does that make
Sure.
sense?
Somebody drew
Cool.
this on a whiteboard in your church at some point in front of you. What you just showed was an absolute diagram that I'm positive was a part of a lesson. Am I wrong?
That is actually what they. That's a literal, like. I'm not joking. I went to the Southern Baptist, just to make sure I got it right. I went to the Southern Baptist.
And he found it. Yeah. Yeah. They don't understand how
that is exactly how they teach it. Like this right here. And you know what? People fucking buy it. People argue to the death over this. Like, what does this chart even mean?
Yeah.
If you replace these words, like if you say this in the middle is a dog, right? And then you say rabbit, horse, and cow. It's like saying the cow is a dog, but the cow is not a horse. The horse is not a chicken. But the chicken is the dog.
Right.
You get it? It's
No.
so easy.
They don't understand how transitive property actually works. Dude, we've had all night, people are trying to raid. I don't think anybody in the live chat actually sees it because links have to be approved every time, but we've had porn channels trying to raid every couple minutes and send links to their porn. And so the moderators are handling it, but tonight, it's weird that of all nights, we're getting a porn raid going on.
What porn exactly?
All boring stuff. It looks like it's all pretty cishet. There's nothing gay about any of it. Because they all like have names like sexy porn girl.
We are a very pro porn show here, though.
What I want to know is listen, any Mormon, any member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints who has been given a position in the church of any kind of public relations official, I will gladly have on my show live to make whatever pitch to my audience they want about why I'm evil, why I am wrong, the things I'm saying are lies, and try and discredit me, as long as they are willing to first have a 10-minute discussion where they are forthright and actually discuss God's penis with me. I want to know God's penis. I want the church's official stance on its size, on its function. I want to know whether or not God is circumcised. I want to know the ratio of shaft to head. I want to know if there's a bend in it. I want to know if there's an elbow in it. Does it point left? Does it point right? Does it have the seam? What I need to know everything. I need in great detail. And I'm not going to, I would not, I'm not saying that you can just say whatever the church, if the church says we have no position on God's penis, then I'm not going to give you my platform and allow you to use it to discredit me. So if you want to get with church officials and you want to have a succinct description of God's penis, I will give you a full 45 minutes. The first 10 minutes, well, the 5-minute intro, 10-minute conversation of you describing God's penis, and then you will have my show to say whatever you want about me for 45 minutes, as long as it follows a description of God's penis that could be at least perceptively sketched out, and then my channel is yours.
I'm not really sure how to follow up with that. So just pretend like I'm saying something very witty and smart, but we literally went in detail about demands on God's penis there for the past 3 minutes, and I can admit that I feel uncomfortable talking about the Lord's.
You can say you're uncomfortable, but tell me you wouldn't. As soon as I announced when that conversation was happening, tell me you wouldn't go to your iPhone and tell it to set an alarm for like that day and an hour ahead of time and 5 minutes ahead of time because you would want to see that episode live.
Oh. Hey Alexa, what's the position with the church on the Lord's penis?
I don't know that one.
I don't either. Okay. Now, there's one final thing with the Mormon Church because, like, obviously the magic underwear is an obvious one, so we're not actually going to hit that one. But
yeah,
there are those that take the Mormon faith and go, "This isn't crazy enough," and so you then have subgroups of the Mormon Church,
yes,
that go off into the deserts and sort of create their own sort of
right,
the LDS parts, the Warren Jeffs,
right, they're often referred to the FLDS Church, and they might even call themselves that, the Fundamentalist Latter-day Saints, or the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. The funny thing about that is it's an unfortunate name because religious fundamentalism is still a huge part of mainstream Mormonism, and it's what makes it a cult. So it's not like how with a lot of a lot of religions, you can say like, well, at least they're not fundamentalists, because mainstream Mormons are fundamentalists. And fundamentalism means that you believe in a literal interpretation of your holy book, and that is very much how Mormons feel about the Book of Mormon, even if they have mixed feelings about that regarding the Bible. But yes, the fundamentalist Mormons are those who, when you drive through Utah, you're going to notice a lot of unfinished big houses because then they can not pay taxes on them and things of that nature, where these polygamists are all living.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which I have no problem with polyamory or polygamy or whatever. It is. I do have a problem with the Mormon version of it because it is it's a full subdom thing, but without choice. I mean, it is lots of girls are married to men. They are assigned their marriages. There is no choice in it. It is also that the man is the authority in the house. If you disagree with him and he says, well, you're wrong and I'm saying do this, you have no level of choice. You don't have an ability to divorce or separate or things of this nature. So it's someone wrote, God's penis is omnipresent. Can't you feel it inside you?
I'm going to answer that question because I have found an article that has been written that takes a stance on God's penis. But before I read this, since we're talking about religious cringe, I don't think it's fair to lay all the cringe at Jimmy's feet tonight. And so, Jimmy, I've actually sent you a link to a video that when we close out the show, it's sort of like the butthole preacher thing that we need to go through to show people. And this is it's part funny, it's part like shocking part, like you're not going to believe this if you haven't seen it before. But this is going to be a sold out place that is eating this stuff up, and what you're going to see is going to just floor you. Like every time I see this, and I've seen it 900 times, it is unbelievable. But this
we did
is
a whole episode on this. Remember?
No, we were going to. We never did.
No, we did.
Me and you talked.
No, we did. We did an episode of Ad Homies on this, man. Oh yeah, we definitely did. Yeah.
Okay. Well, either way, the audience is like they're all
still
get a kick out of it.
No, I'm just kidding.
They'll still get a kick out of it.
You know,
I think it's still
people.
like I want to show the height of religion. But here's so this is the Progressive Christian. They write an article on Patheos. Okay, I'm gonna read their stance on God's penis, and the title of this article is God does not have a penis. He doesn't have one. So it says, let me see.
That would not be the Mormon position on it, just so we're clear. I was talking about the Mormon position. Mormons believe he has a fully anatomical bio-male body.
Okay. Well, I guess this is gonna take a more this is what they say. Here's the deal. God is not male. God is not female. God does not have a gender. They use the pronoun he for several reasons. One, because we don't want to call God an it. God is a person and therefore has a personality.
So why not use they? If God's non-binary, we got that covered. Let's use those pronouns.
God made us in his image, and then we return the favor by making God into an image that reflects ourselves. Unfortunately, the common use of he refers to God creates the illusion that God is male, but that is not the case. He is a spirit. He's not male or female. And then it babbles on about Genesis and why you can't attribute male or female traits to this, because the Bible has examples of both. The writer of this article is the author of several books, including Jesus Untangled. He is also the co-founder of Pacific Fight Club and co-host of the Heretic Happy Hour podcast.
Well, anyway, Mormons believe there is a wiener, and I want to know all about it. That's what I'm saying here. And
is there not a stance on it, like for real? Like
they won't
somebody
talk
has to have written about this.
They won't talk about the site. One thing a lot of Mormons don't know, too, is that early Mormon doctrine suggests that God has sex with his many wives, like actual physical sex, penis and vagina kind of thing. And that God, first of all, we not only have a heavenly father, we also have heavenly mothers also, because God is also a polygamist.
Wouldn't you, though, if you were God, like if you created and you knew, because you know everything, how wonderful sex was, like wouldn't you have sex with many wives?
Sure.
And
Sure.
Why wouldn't you? Why would you make this and then go, nah, I'm good?
I don't know if I would share something so nice with my imperfect creations, though. Like if you're God, you have to be able to create something better than sex. You're gonna give humans the best thing that you came up with.
I can't believe that I'm sitting here scrolling through Google with the search, the Mormon Church position on God's penis. Like this is literally what. Let's get started with the super chat responses, because we only got a few minutes left here. So we're going to move to super chats. People like to leave at this point. Don't, because we still have more conversations coming. And if you want something read out on the air, make sure you hit that super chat button, because that's how this happens. Ariel Ansel says, as per usual, I'll be listening at work. Still wanted to throw some support your way. Keep being awesome. You got yours up and ready to go? They're coming right now. RJ says, good to see you back. It's good to see you back, RJ.
Guess who's back? Back again. Where'd my mods go? There's lots of things needing approval. Okay. Spoons Down gave me a couple of hearts. A couple of hearts back at you, Spoons Down.
Brandon Heath Shaw says, please wish Mia Shaw a happy 12th birthday. We always enjoy your show from Atlanta, Georgia. Well, Mia, happy birthday. And I hope that it is the best one that you have had thus far, and here's to many more. And I'm sure that you have, obviously, the people that are sending you this birthday wish, and myself included, you are surrounded by loved ones, and I just hope it's a very special day for you.
Brittany4795 says, is there a live schedule? I keep missing them. It's always Saturday and Sunday evenings. Obviously, occasionally they get canceled, but as far as it's never earlier than 4 o'clock Mountain Time, and it's never later than 9 o'clock Mountain Time. It's rarely as late as 9 o'clock. Like right now, the fact that the show's going into 9 o'clock Mountain Time is already bananas.
I think people probably expect that that Jimmy and I have this like awesome formula for how this show works. Like we all week long we're
ready,
working away at the content that we're going to do. Can we expose like how we do
what
things?
actually happened today? Yeah. Just tell them.
I mean, just any
story.
day.
Yeah,
any day.
Yeah.
Like here's what we do.
Yeah.
On Saturday, maybe Sunday, we'll decide what time we're gonna do the show, and one of us will send a message to the other saying, "What are we talking about?"
Yeah.
The other one will usually reply with, "Let me think about it."
Yeah.
And probably within 3 hours of the show starting, we have actually when you see the event go up on YouTube, that's when we have decided what the topic's going to be.
Today we were a little ahead of the game. Like this morning at around, I think it was around 9 a.m. or 8 a.m. my time. I was like, hey, live show tonight. Can we do it a little bit later in the evening? And you sent back, yeah. And then you said, what are we talking about? And I said, I don't know. What do you want to talk about? And you said, let me think about it. And then around noon, I think, I sent you a message saying, why don't we just share cringe stories? And then you were like, yeah, that works for me. And then before we got on the air, we were talking, it was like, do you have any ideas? Not really. And it was like, honestly, we only had to pick a subject to have a title. It's not like we're even planning to stick to it.
Here's how the conversation went. Jimmy said, any thoughts on a topic? I said, I'm thinking. He then said, want to riff on each other and just discuss cringy things we did
but that was
heard when religious?
But how many hours apart was that message to the one before? It was like 3 hours later. The riff, do you want to riff on each other? Yeah.
Yeah. It was actually it was 2.5 hours later. And then you said, let's call it something like religion made us cringe. And I said, love it. And then that's it. And then we got on here and he mentioned air fryers and I lost my shit. And I was like, I'm not even going to tell you this now. When we start the show, I will unload about these fucking air fryers. So that's the formula. That's how we roll.
Let's do this. Why don't you read your next one while I pull up that Twitter poll so I can give people the results as they stand so far.
Yes. Last one. Yuhan Roderick said Jared Leto is still the worst Joker ever. Check out the verygoodpodcast.com/RNRaw. You knew this was coming. Yes, I did. And it's totally fair to plug whatever you want when you super chat. And yes, Jared Leto is the worst Joker ever. That is, I agree.
So right now we are at 706 votes regarding how many peanut butter and jelly sandwiches people have had in their life. 17% either have had none or just wanted to see the results. Less than 100 people had 23, that was 23% of the vote, was less than 100 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. 45%, nearly half of the people, have had between 101 and 5,000 of them. And only 15% are with me so far on having had more than 5,000 of them. So that poll is still up for another day or so if you all want to go in and play with those numbers. I actually will have more peanut butter and jelly related polls this week. So make sure that you find that you go to Twitter and follow me at Dear Mr. Atheist.
How old are you, Jimmy?
29. I had to think about it. I'll be 30 in March.
Okay.
Very exciting time to be alive, to be 30. Katie Turbush says, love your content. Thank you. Heather Moss, thank you. Bad Day says, have my free money. Goth Pink Cat Meow says, do you prefer the title Fat Jesus or Pumpkin King? I like both, but por qué no los dos? Why not the Fat Pumpkin Jesus King? FPJK, everybody. Heather Moss, it is illegal in Ohio to harpoon for whales on Lake Erie on a Sunday. Are there whales in Lake Erie? Have there ever been? Is that something that happened somehow?
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Maya Chan, have my 2 premium cents. Love from Mexico. Well, thank you very much. Love to Mexico. Aspen Cosplay, who is a friend of mine. Kyle, being an overachiever, baptized twice. I almost said twice. That's my my childhood impediment trying to work its way back in. Android on mute. Go Fefe. Android on mute says, when I was Mormon, a friend asked why people are so concerned with revealing clothing. I said it's because it might make others have bad thoughts. I was a real piece of crap back then. Yep, that's part of it. There's also the so it's different the way they approach it with those they identify as men and those they identify as women. There's a difference to it too, and the approach. And a lot of people who are being raised in like the young women's program will be told modesty is also about self-respect and virtue and all of this stuff, and that basically this body belongs to God and your future husband. And yeah, it's all a bunch of shit. Bunny Bussell, thank you, Mr. Atheist. Goddess 18. So if you'd like some pagan cringe to review in the future, I'm pagan, it's cool. Look into the Frosts, cringiest and most horrifying thing I came across on my journey from Wicca to general paganism. Big oof. I'm going to be doing some general pagan collabs coming up with Ocean Keltoy, and I'll ask him about that. Go ahead.
Two things real quick, Jimmy. Cameron Jones sent a super chat with a message. Thank you very much. And so did Vandy. Hello, Vandy. Here's a question, Jimmy. If you had to say, like, rough estimate, how many peanut butter and jelly sandwiches that you've had in your life, where would you ballpark that figure?
My guess is, I don't think it's as high as 10,000, but I think there is a good 10 years that I had it every day. And then beyond that I had it most days for another 5 to 10 years.
8,000?
I'd probably put somewhere in the 6 to 8,000 range.
Okay.
Were you taking that somewhere? I thought you were setting something up.
I'll get back to you.
Okay. All right.
I'll get back to you.
All right. You're going to draw me that many sandwiches? Me just in a bed of sandwiches? Keep it numerically accurate. Allie, thank you. Sarah Gardner, your hair is the pinnacle of beauty today. Well, thank you. I showered moments before coming on air. I actually really did like your hair today, by the way, Kyle. I think it looks, there's something particularly, I think you added some color to it, and I liked the shape. Just letting you know, I noticed.
It's highlights.
Maybe it's Maybelline. The Blue Dragon 77, thank you. D. Dolphay, hi Land Daddy, I'm a Wiccan, and seeing you helps me so much in defending myself from people who try to bully me. Also love your channel so much. That's amazing to hear, and totally something I never saw coming. I never saw when I started Mr. Atheist that I would become a resource, not just for pagans and Wiccans, but also for, I didn't see myself as being a GRSM activist through my channel. It was always important to me privately, but the fact that it's become such a, everything about my channel I never saw coming. Pyro Spartan 117 says, I baptize you, Adolf Elizabeth Hitler, lols. Yeah. And somebody stood in, and 14 at least people have stood in and been called Hitler in Mormon temples. Adolf Hitler. Was Adolf's middle name really Elizabeth? That's not real, right? Yes. I didn't think he had a middle name. Adolf Hitler, middle name. I love the idea of emasculating him, because it's,
by the way, that means that you consumed on average 276 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches a year.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, definitely. At one time in my life, it was actually probably 300 and something bigger. There were days where I had double. Plus, starting around 7 years old, I started doing a triple decker where you put a piece of bread in the middle, and then around 11 or 12 years old, the way I actually did my triple decker, the original way was jelly on one bread, peanut butter on another, and then you put a piece of bread in the middle and you stick it. I actually was making basically 3 peanut butter and jelly sandwiches after about 12, because I would put peanut butter and jelly, and then on the back of one of the pieces of bread, more peanut butter and jelly on another piece of bread. It's the perfect food.
only people from the South are going to get this, but my sandwich of choice growing up and still today is pimento cheese. My grandma made the best
Pimento cheese sandwich.
Oh
yeah. I know a lot of people like peanut butter variations. I never really liked peanut butter and banana. Peanut butter and honey is okay, but I feel like more than it does add a little sweetness to the flavor, but I didn't like what it did to the consistency so much. But I'm going to be asking, I'm not going to give it away now, but I'm going to be asking people what they paired their peanut butter with on their sandwiches on a future poll this week. And the options are going to be either grape or strawberry jelly, which is neither of those are the jellies my favorite jelly, but it used to be grape. Either grape or strawberry jelly will be one option, bananas another options, honey another options, and then a general other option.
Mr. Atheist.
Yeah.
How can you not believe in the wonder and awe of God when he created, I mean, look at the grape, Mr. Atheist. It can
the
become
atheist
wine.
Nightmare.
It can become a raisin. It can become jelly that you consumed for so many years. How can just one thing be all of these things if not for the glory of God?
Wine is gross and so are raisins. Sebastian, thank you. I'm not a fan of either of those things. Corbin Sullivan, I love you guys. Here's my free super chat. Well, thank you very much. Another thank you to Sebastian, who said, can this be a bribe for a video on the Satanic Temple? I am not interested in what the Satanists believe about Jesus's penis or God's penis. Jesus's too. I'd be interested in hearing about also though. I want to know. I want specific answers from the Mormons. Melissa Lehman, keep up the awesome work. Thank you. Arden Everett, another lovely person and friend of mine, and she has a new channel where she's talking about trans and atheist issues as well. She says, all that talk about God's manly bits has me flush. I am shooketh also. Todd S., please comment on Owen Benjamin, worse than Massa. There is lots of stuff on par, if not worse, with Massa coming in the near future, but we still have to get past the Make America Straight Again conference stuff as well. And activist mommy, we got to talk about her more too. She's the worst.
Every time I hear somebody say that, it to me it brings up a racial connotation. Like I have to stop and realize what you're talking about when you say that.
Right. Yeah, no, I know what you mean. Kinsey Selvage, thank you. Heather Moss, is it cringe that I had a gun pulled on me when my JH granny took me on service when I was 9? I'm not sure what JH is. Did you mean JW? Yeah, I don't.
Jehovah's hopefuls? Jehovah's hoes?
Jehovah's homies? Are you one of Jehovah's homies? Yeah. Trotsky, thank you. Alexander Baranov, thank you for making me think about Yahweh's eggplant. You're welcome. Trotsky says, check out my song Preacher Beef. All right, Trotsky, I will do that. Beth, if I ever make it to the States from New Zealand, can I hang out with you both, drink Fruit Loop beer, and talk about anything other than God's junk? Much love. Probably.
Fruit Loop beer? Yes.
Yeah. I think they were asking about Barry Weiss. Here's the thing with me and socializing. I don't. And I thought about recently being like, hey, this weekend I'm going to be at such and such coffee shop or whatever for anybody who wants to meet up. And so I put out a poll, and let me explain to you the results of that poll. Let me go find it real quick first.
While you do that, I'm going to read these
Go ahead.
Two while you find that poll. Roderick says the banana is God's greatest creation. What's his face detailed long time ago. That is definitely a big contender. And Ratsui, I hope I'm saying that right. Ratsui. Pimento cheese sandwiches. Ratsui.
Yeah.
Pimento cheese sandwiches are sacred and holy. I agree.
So I asked, how many of you all are near enough to southern Denver area that would be interested if I did a meetup? And I was expecting, even when I got full of myself, I was like, maybe I need a venue that if as many as 100 people showed up, I could be prepared for that. 16,000 people responded, and 9% of you are close enough to Southern Denver wanting to attend. So let's just take that number real quick and times that by 0.09. That's 1,440 people, and that's not even 10% of my entire subscriber base responding. So I should explain to you, I will not be doing any social events. I will not be. That is terrifying to me.
I'll hang out with you, darling.
I'm absolutely.
Whoever wrote that.
So the answer is maybe, especially if at that point I am doing events, but I don't socialize with the people I know in real life as far as going out for a drink and stuff. Also, I don't drink, so there's that too. So I'm not trying for this to come off as just like sheer rejection, but I don't want to get anybody's hopes up that they will ever spend time with me in public unless they happen to run into me.
Just come on down to North Carolina. I'll hang out with you. I have two questions. One really quick, Jimmy.
Yeah.
Did you get your scooter?
I did, and I returned it. Because it after about 10 minutes, it slowed down to like 15% speed. And I think that I was just basically because I was only right at the limit for weight. And so I'm going to get a different one. I still had fun in the short time I had it, but I'm researching a new one.
Sigfrido Serbia says, a psychiatrist has a patient who says, I have no meaning, no purpose, and my intentions mean nothing. I'm an atheist. What should the psychiatrist say? Well, that's a very interesting question, but the no meaning, no purpose, and no intentions has nothing to do with the atheist part. Atheist is just a descriptive word that it's describing your stance on what you believe in the argument of God, in the God debate, whether you think one exists or not. It has zero to do with the hopelessness feeling or anything like that. Those are going to be caused by something outside of that. The atheist part is just where they fall on in terms of if they believe God exists or not.
Yeah. Why is your psychiatrist handling something that's totally not related to psychiatry, which is atheism? What were the three things though? No intentions.
No meaning, no purpose, and my intentions mean nothing. Yeah.
I have more meaning and more purpose than I ever have in my entire life, and I am currently an atheist, than any time I was religious. And my intentions being meaningless, I would say that people's intentions behind their actions mean a lot more than anything. We have to consider our impacts, especially people who are public figures and have an audience. We have to think about that, but intentions behind actions pretty much mean the world. So I don't know what the fuck. I feel like somebody was trying to trap you as though we were going to be like, oh my God, they're right. I don't know.
I heard from someone that atheists must claim God does not exist.
I wonder who you heard that from.
We're going to plead the fifth on that one, but that was I got the joke.
Yeah.
Very nice. Well played.
I will make the statement, I lack a belief in God, and I suspect, I will even go so far as to say that I believe that any God that I have been presented with, there is adequate evidence to believe they don't exist. But my lack of a belief in God is general, and I withhold belief until it's been proven, and I describe that as being atheist. That's what I'm going to say. But Beth, again, thank you for you can always try. But I'd hate for you to come to Denver for the purpose of hanging out with me. If you come to Denver, come for the weed. And if I'm around, I'll stop by. Alyssa, Kyle, does the word air crisper work? Would you be okay with air crisper? Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Okay.
That I can, very good. Very good.
I actually do prefer fryer because they are trying to establish this as an alternative to deep frying, but that's just me.
Well, you just want to follow. We learned last time we had a show with the robots thing. You just want society to crumble anyway. So of course you're going to want it to be called an air fryer. I mean, what does it matter then?
Sex robots, boobies in disguise. I don't know what I was going with there. Kay, what about those with allergies? You left out an option unless I missed it. So technically, the none that you've had no peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I would assume that works with the allergies things too, but I only can put 4 options. So somebody's going to be someone's going to be not represented. I'm very sorry. Dalton, Miss
Just be allergic to the pole.
Yeah, that's true. Miss Show went to an art show today that was beautiful and GRSM affirming. Jimmy, what are your opinions on telling friends from church that you rarely see you are LGBT affirming / ace and spiritual, not Christian? I'm a big fan of everybody being their unapologetic self. So whatever you are, share that with people. If there are parts of that are open to debate, like spirituality or something, I like it when people are open to those conversations, but not if it's somebody, like, I'm not saying you have to be open to someone who comes in immediate with an attack. But if you tell me, for example, that you're spiritual but not Christian, I'm going to ask follow-up questions and try to find out if you mean spiritual in a supernatural sense, or if you're talking about some deep in state of consciousness or something like that. But yeah, be yourself. That's what I'm always about. CFPU Cassie, thank you. Kristen Linehan, thank you. Gedry, hey, haven't been around much. Mama Gedry passed last Sunday. Missed you guys. I don't want to waste my moolah on candy, so I give it to the... that really, really sucks that you are going through a loss of a mother. And I fully endorse you buying lots of candy and using that as a method of escape, because using sweets to escape real life is kind of my brand.
Very sorry for your loss.
I'm pretty grossed out by the following thing that I'm about to say out loud, and I am going to be interested to see where you follow this. Heather Moss says, I was raised on peanut butter and mayo sandwiches.
Oh my, no. Oh, yeah. I can't go on. I can't go on.
Black Swan says, what are you...
I'm so sorry, darling. I'm so sorry.
I'm pretty upset right now. Black Swan asks, what are your ideal PB&J proportions? Mine is really heavy on peanut butter, very light jelly. Jelly is a condiment. It's supposed to be light. I also like heavy peanut butter, but I want enough of a layer of jelly that you're not just staining the bread. I want an actual layer of jelly on top of it, so you don't see the texture of the bread through. So I'm not heavy on the jelly, but I wouldn't say I'm light on it either. Kristen Lenahan, thank you. You haven't had a lot of peanut butter and jelly, so I guess you wouldn't have an ideal proportions there, except to say 0.
If I had to eat peanut butter, it would be the chunky kind. There was, I mean, like when I was in prison for that year, there were many days where I literally had to eat them. So
was it Uncrustables?
No,
I know those used to be really popular in prisons.
I actually, I ate. I was okay with those. I think it was the novelty aspect of it, but this prison PB&Js are not good.
That's so sad too, because they're so hard to ruin. Thank you, Kristen Linehan. Arcadia Game says, okay, so I'm hella late, but the first words I heard upon joining are God's penis. This is why I love you, Jimmy. Thank you. I think that's the appeal of my channel too. Artie Crenshaw, thank you. D. Dollface. So where in Wyoming did you go to school? Cheyenne and Laramie, but I'm pretty reluctant to tell people which schools and things of that nature, because not only do I wish to avoid doxing, I also wish to avoid I didn't cover a story about about a junior high that I went to because I have a brother who actively goes there, has autism, and it was about basically a child KKK group. They were called the Kid Klux Klan, and I did not want my brother at the time to be targeted by them for me calling them out publicly. So there's lots of considerations to why I don't tell too much.
Oh my God. Tony Design says peanut butter, mayo, banana, bacon, deep fried and sprinkled with powdered sugar.
Ban.
Have you ever had a fried Oreo or a fried Twinkie?
Oh, yeah. Oh, so good. So good. We also have a thing up here called the Rocky Mountain Chocolate Factory, and they do chocolate covered all kinds of stuff. And they're chocolate covered Oreos. I don't know why they're so much better than other chocolate covered Oreos, but they're so good.
Let me give you guys two things, two quick recipes that'll be the best things you've ever eaten in your life. Okay, and they're very easy. Number one, take an egg, Scotch egg, right? If you take an egg and you hard boil it, and then you roll it in ground sausage, it's laid out very thin. You roll that in the ground sausage, and then you wrap the bacon around that, and you throw it in the oven. It's not really a Scotch egg; it's a Southern spin on it. But those are amazing. Number two, take cantaloupe, wrap the cantaloupe in bacon, throw that in the oven for until the bacon crisps on it. Best snack on the planet, I promise you.
That sounds gross. I guess I actually hear the appeal. I cut pork out of my diet over the last year. Every now and then I'll break and have like maybe a little bit of bacon on a burger, but that means I also have to. I've also been cutting beef out, so it would mean I'd have to have a day where I'm like giving an exception to both. But I still eat chicken. Chickens are adequately unintelligent for me to not feel bad about eating. Well, actually, so pigs. I stopped eating pork. I stopped eating pork because pigs are geniuses. I stopped eating beef because of the environmental impact. But I love chicken. It's like the staple of my diet.
I can't handle that conversation. I really can't.
Oh, just trying to do my part. I actually worked on a ranch with pigs, and I became uncomfortable with eating pork because they are smarter than dogs by like a long shot. Yeah. Yes, I
can acknowledge the fact that I'm hypocritical because I understand that. Like, I should be a vegan, but I don't even begin to judge you for eating pork. For me, it's a very personal thing that I became friends with pigs, and now it would be like eating a dog, even somebody else's dog to me. With beef, it's specifically that's an environmental nightmare, and we should all eat less beef. And so I'm trying to do my part. Sigfrido Sarabia super chat says, "What does homosexuality have to do with rainbows?" Honestly, I have no fucking idea. I think it was just something that was adopted, and it's we like it. And actually, here's why. God sent a rainbow out over Noah after the flood, after he killed everyone, and only left 6 people on the planet. And that's where obviously the gay people came from that lineage, because here we are, and so we just adopted the rainbow.
I love that there's a meme where someone's like, my favorite thing the LGBT community ever did was when we got together and stole the rainbow from God or something like that, or beat God for the rainbow. I think it's kind of obvious though. That nice color spectrum. We're talking about a spectrum of sexuality and color. And I think that even before it was associated with the community, that people, when they would walk out, they'd be like, that's pretty, but pretty gay also. Like,
right. What's gayer than a rainbow?
Gay. Yeah.
What's gayer than a rainbow?
It's just kind of intrinsically gay. Mistress Crimson 98, peanut butter mixed with wheat germ and honey. That's interesting. I'd try that. Beth, I have social anxiety too. Let's meet and not talk, or let's not meet and talk. That's actually my preference. Let's not meet, but we can talk. That's social media, all that kind of stuff. No, I get what you're saying. I'm working on it. Part of mine's also wrapped up a lot in my chronic illness. The chronic illness can be triggered by anxiety, and the chronic illness can trigger anxiety. It's cyclical, and it's shitty. Thank you, Deke P, twice. Loie Fletcher, thank you. Mrs. Misanthropy, how did you handle your social anxiety during Pride? For me, even the idea of going caused nausea, even though I didn't want to go. The day beforehand, I got a hotel room, and I first, without having people around and stuff, got acclimated to there. I got a hotel extremely close to Pride, and basically just kept reminding myself that at any point I can go there, I can be alone, I can isolate. Also, I kept my room freezer temperatures. I don't know what it is about cold air, but breathing cold air is extremely good for my
that's
anxiety.
Way too many steps. Get tequila.
I don't drink. Savannah Krakauskas. If you remember me, my last name is Krakowski's. I'm sorry. Savannah Krakowski's. I do vaguely remember trying to say that name before. Almost done here, I think. Yep. Thank you, Artie Crenshaw. Thank you, Loie Fletcher. Alyssa. Sorry, my name is pronounced Alisa. Oh, okay. Hi, Alisa. I'm mad at your parents for spelling it Alyssa, but it's good to meet you, Alisa. That's like I dated a girl in high school who was named Hannah, but it was spelled Hannah. Hannah.
I'm Kile.
That reminds me of a Key and Peele sketch that I love. Balake, Nicole Grace, thank you. And that's if you've ever wondered what in Marco Polo, when Dr. Bowen from Digital Hammurabi is in our Marco Polo chat, if you ever wonder what he's referencing when he says those like really funny pronunciation of names, it's that Key and Peele sketch. Trotsky, nice. Someone sneezed on me and I became bi, caught the gay. They probably sneezed on you under a rainbow. You do have to have both conditions. Undead Meowth. I'm currently working on a series about Tommy McMurtry, but I'm losing motivation. Any tips? Yeah, watch more. You'll get pissed off and then you'll get motivated. Lady Miravan. Yeah. Lady Miravan, it's not a good service until Granny runs 5 laps around the purse in a holiness church. Otherwise, people start gossiping about the preacher, right? Because the preacher wasn't able to pull out the spirit enough. All right, that is where we leave you. Kyle has some motivational tips to help you get through the week, and then that's the end of the show. Just sing 9 to 5 by Dolly Parton.
Don't buy air fryers until they change the damn name. And Yuhan Roderick says, my grandpa used to make me peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. My grandfather loved them as well. So my grandpa used to put peanuts in a Coke, like the glass Coke bottles. Anybody else, like relatives, do that
without Coke in it?
People?
No,
like the Coke would be in there, and then they would put the peanuts.
That is odd. Did he finish eating? Oh yeah, someone says, Jake, where you at, Jake Wellen? I love that sketch so much. Key and Peele is amazing. One last one here. Prince Heliel. Hannah, the way you said she called herself in Japanese means flower. It's spelled the same. The way you said she called herself in Japanese means flower. It's spelled the same. Alisa, is that what you're talking about? I thought flower in Japanese was sakura. No, that's cherry flower or cherry blossom. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yep. And Bella Allen says, bye, Sky Daddy. Goodbye, everyone. Working 9 to 5. Oh, man, I can't.
Feed squirrels meth and don't drink pink beer.
9 to 5. Oh, I have a last one. Orion Bonnie says, thank you so much for what you guys do. I was told I'd burn on hell and suffer for my sexuality. And being a green witch, you guys make me feel like I belong for who I am. I don't know what a green witch is, but I'm glad that we are inclusive of your identity. 9 to 5. I'm going to stick with that. Dolly Parton is an angel. Bye, everyone.
Adios.